me, that's warm. Yes, we're gonna get stuck somewhere on the M6. The headlights are non-existent. Right, I've had to stop again. We've found the issue, and it's quite a large one. Absolutely nothing when you turn the key. Rubbish. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Laurence and the Machine, the show where we take cars where cars distinctly aren't meant to go. Now, when people ask me what I do at the weekend, I find it really hard to explain it to them because it ranges from this, there we go, to this, the wheel bearing is f***ed, and even to this. And as you can see, they're all exactly the same. Getting stuck in Land Rovers, breaking cars, generally messing about. But I still find it hard to explain it to them. You say, I'd need to film it to show you what goes on. So that's exactly what we're gonna go and do. And for our first trip, we're gonna go to Wales, because it's not that far from my house. Right then, before we go anywhere, we do need to check a couple of things, namely where we're going and whether where we're going is actually open. And for that, we've got Trailwise, which is open on here. Trailwise is an app that shows you all the green lanes in the UK, whether they're open, whether they've got big obstacles on them, and whether you can do them at this time of year. So I've had a look at some lanes in the north of Wales, and then basically what we'll do, we'll just work our way down and see how far we get, basically. See when we break down. Now, to guide us around the routes and lanes of Wales, we have this other PC, which is my PC, which is a very small laptop. Some of you might remember them. But what's important about this, it shows us all of the lanes that we've ever sort of done, and we've written notes about them. It's all very boring, really. But what it means is we can sort of click on one of them and say, right, I want to go to there, and it will just take us there. So we'll take this in the car with us. We've got a GPS that plugs into this so that it knows where it is. Basically we just click on a flag and it takes us to it. You might notice I'm talking quite quickly, and it's because I've got to go and put the tent on before we go, and there's no one here to help me. We are actually against the clock now because I wanted to arrive and set up our camping station before it went dark. In fact, I've not even set off before it's gone dark, and I've got to put the tent on by myself. I've got to get all the other stuff and then actually drive there, and it's about a 3.5 hour drive, so let's get going. I set out for the very first time on the frankly epic journey from my house in the north of England to the camp that I'd organised that night in the north of Wales. Right then, thanks to my ever organised self, we've finally set off. It's just gone 8 on a Friday night and we're on the way to Wales. Now, a couple of problems so far. One is that there's been a crash on the M56. So we're going somewhere through Northwich on the way there, so it's going to take us a long time to get there. The sat-nav's currently saying 3.5 hours. And the second issue that we have is that the battery light keeps blinking on and off. And actually, when I first started the car up, battery light didn't go off for a good while. And for those non-mechanically minded people, when the battery light's on, the battery isn't being charged. And if the alternator isn't charging the battery, then the fuel pump won't run, the winch won't run, the starter motor won't start the engine. So if the problem gets any worse, we might not be getting home.
Little did I know, just 20 minutes later...
Right, well, this is the issue that I was talking about before, and I'm going to try and capture it for you in the crudest of ways by sticking a GoPro in there. So that battery light, the engine's running now, but it keeps flickering on and off. which means the alternator isn't charging. Now, if you look at these are the batteries, and they should be saying something like 13.5, and they're just not. Rubbish. Me, that's warm. Right, now let's see if it's working now. For sake. It is charging slightly. Right, sit rep. The battery light is now on permanently, and the batteries are discharging. So what I'm going to do is turn around and go home. Hopefully we'll make it back, but if I don't, then we'll have to come and get someone to rescue us.
Having made it to just past Northwich, I decided that being on a motorway wasn't the best idea, so I headed up the back roads towards home.
It's now 9:30 at night, and yeah, I've just nipped to my mate's house and taken the battery off his car. Yes, we're going to get stuck somewhere on the M6, so that when these batteries discharge so much, we've got another one to discharge. And the batteries, one of them is on 11.5 volts and the other one is on 11.6 volts. So stuff's going to start going off soon. The headlights are already incredibly dim. So yeah, we'll see how far we get. We have now got 9 volts in each battery, and the gearbox doesn't have enough battery to function, so we're now stuck in 4th gear. We have 51 minutes left to drive, and the headlights are non-existent. We've had to turn everything off. My phone's running out of battery, and yeah, this trip's really gone well. Okay, so we did get home last night, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. The headlights were not working. The gearbox didn't know what to do with itself. I took the battery out last night and charged it up, and we made it to the garage this morning. So we're going to change the alternator and then get back on the road. Yes. Good. That's what I wanted to happen. Here's the problem. Doesn't even sound that bad. The common problem with these BMW engines, the leaks will let ATF out, and it all goes into the alternator, which is beneath it. And then when we go through mud, all the oil collects and sticks to the mud, and it all goes in the alternator and makes them stop working. Rubbish. Moment of truth. Yes, we win! We win again!
With the alternator fixed, I set off towards the same destination I was headed to the previous night. But because nothing interesting happened on this journey, we pick up the action the next morning.
Well, good morning. We made it last night. We ended up being really dark and miserable by the time we got here, so I basically just set up the tent and went to bed. It was really, really cold last night, even with a heated sleeping bag on. But we did make it, and we've made it through the night. And what a place we've camped in. The first job for today is to go shopping, because whilst the leftover beans and sausage was alright last night, it didn't really fill the hole, so I need something better for tonight. Obviously the first job is get this bloody tent down. Let's get going. Let's go. It's actually a really, really long way in this one. The only problem with it, it's got many, many gates on it. Really? There we go. We're onto a road again. So now we're on the move, I best tell you a bit about this car that we're in. So to anyone else, it's just like a standard Discovery 2 with some big wheels and a lift on it. But there's quite a few more modifications than meets the eye. We've got the shelf in the boot, which I think you can just about see. That's to put like stuff like coats on and stuff like that. Stuff that takes up a lot of room on the boot floor that it just doesn't need to. Hung inside that, we've got a subwoofer and we've got the inverter. So I have got 230 volts in the car. I have removed the back seats just because I never really use them and they're really, really heavy. So, you know, it's a no-brainer to just take them out. And it gives me a bit of extra boot space. And then we move to the outside and we've got the obvious stuff like the roof rack, the lights, the big wheels, 2-inch lift. We've also got some Fox shocks on there just to keep it a bit more stable. And then when you look under the bonnet, it's not a TD5 or a V8 that you usually get in one of these things. It's actually a 3-litre diesel out of a BMW X5. And that means that this car produces 270 brake horsepower. The first lane we're going to go and do is a lane that anyone who's even heard the word green laning has done. Strata, Florida. And it's an interesting lane because it's a bit boring really. There's only one interesting bit of it, but everyone seems to flock to it, so let's go and do it. Now there's one rule when you're going green laning, and that's to never ever go by yourself. But just to add a bit of extra danger, I am going to go by myself, and whatever situation I get into, whether I break down or get stuck, I've got to get out of myself. And you think, oh well, you know, if you break down, you just get the AA to come and sort you out and take you home. But unfortunately, when you're on a green lane, there's not really much a recovery service can do. I mean, they can't get their vans down where we can get these. So you've at least got to get the car back to tarmac for them to do anything.
With my new fears realised, I continued the 2.5-hour journey towards the Strata, Florida.
Right, here we are at the Strata, Florida. What a journey that was. That was more than 2.5 hours, wasn't it? So I guess let's just get cracking, eh? This is the section of Strata where it basically turns into a river and you just drive down the river. I suppose it weighs the same as a barge, really. Now it's become one.
I was now around halfway along Strata, and I'd started to notice an issue facing 4x4 drivers across the world.
There's a lot of off-piste action going on here. Rubbish. If you want to do some serious off-road, there's plenty of lanes that I wouldn't attempt by myself in Wales. You know, stuff that you can go and get stuck on for a day. We've done lanes that took us a day. Sometimes we've had to camp on the lane and do the next bit the next day. But you don't need to come to lanes like this and start tearing up the countryside. It's just not needed. Then we can work together to keep these lanes open.
After my short ranting session was over and done with, I reached the section of Strata that everyone raves about.
So, we're approaching the one interesting section of the Strata, Florida, and that is the bomb hole. Now, people spend ages going up and down this bomb hole. I'm just going to do it once. It is steep when you get to here. And then the back end. There we go. And we're done.
With the bomb all done, I moved on to the next obstacle on Strata, the two fords.
Now this is the rivers I was on about, which depends how deep these are. Now there's a car in the middle of the river, and does that mean that it's really deep? Well, we're soon going to find out, aren't we? Like a paddling pool. Out in it. No one in that car. Maybe they've broken down and just left it. Anyone want any parts for a 300 TDI? This is the deeper one, I think. Let's put some diff lock in. Just have to creep in for now and see. If I remember rightly, this is the deeper of the two. It's not fast flowing. Let's just go for it. Deep! Deep! Deep water! We made it. Only a little bit of water in the footwell and my laptop's getting covered in water and all sorts of stuff, but we made it! And this is when you get steamed up. Because the heater gets loads of water in it and just blasts it into the cab. End up not being able to see anything. This is my new method of seeing where we're going. The windscreen is no good for that anymore. I did want to camp on Bastard Lane today, which might still happen. We might get there in the dark again. Trouble is, when you're filming, you've got to stop loads of times to set up cameras and throw the drone up and stuff like that. It takes you a lot longer to do a lane than it would just driving it usually. So, you know, we're against the clock now. There's a big rock in there. It is going dark now. And I reckon, without putting it on the sat nav, I reckon I am an hour and a half from Bastard Lane. Right, well, there you go. That's the Strata, Florida for you. Done it now, I'm not going to do it again.
With Strata done, I realised that Bastard Lane was too far away to camp at that evening, so I nipped to the shops for some food for tea and had a change of plan.
Right, well, we have arrived at our camping location for the night, and of course, true Laurence the Machine fashion, it's dark. And I'll have to show you around the campsite tomorrow. For now, just make some tea and go to bed.
I woke in a place called Nanty Mock and found that I'd parked right next to a reservoir, which meant that I could get some cool drone shots which you're looking at right now. But because I'm terrible at continuity, here's a piece to camera where the tent magically puts itself back up.
Morning again. I think it was even colder last night. Really, really cold. It also rained. So I've left the tent up a little bit this morning just to try and dry it out. But it's so cold, it's not drying. So it's going to have to go away wet, which is fantastic. We're actually right on a green lane here, so if you go up there, it goes just behind this hill. It is a beautiful place where I've stayed, but it's really, really windy last night. It was raining. Why do we do this?
I feasted on cold beans and sausage that morning, put the tent down, then mounted up for a leisurely drive towards Bastard Lane.
Right then. Oh, let's go! Oh no. For sake. You're not going to believe this. The battery light's on again. Let's just do a bit of driving and see if it goes off. I doubt it will. We're in exactly the same situation as the other day, except now we are a lot further away from home. A lot further. Well, I think that's going to be our trip cut short. We're not going to do Bastard Lane, we're not going to do Nanty Mock. All because of a alternator. And I don't even have any signal to tell me the fastest route home yet, so I'm just going to guess.
I decided that the only logical method of getting home at this point was speed.
What I'm doing now is turning Wales into a rally special stage.
But in keeping with the theme of the trip, even that started to cause me problems.
We have got a scraping noise, but I'm not sure if it's just something in brakes or something like that. Right, let's have a look, see what it is. Nothing immediately jumps out at me. Definitely this front corner. I think we go this way. I've still not got any signal, so I'm just guessing. So not only do we not know where we are, we've also got to be careful with this car because it's making some funny noises.
And eventually, just a few more miles down the road, I pulled over to have my third breakdown in 3 days.
Right, I've had to stop again because whatever was stopping this wheel from turning yesterday has just got a whole lot worse, to the point where it was like pulling me across lanes and on the road. So I'm going to have to take the wheel off and see what crack is. The problem we've got is I've only got a high lift jack, and when you start jacking these cars up, the body goes up and the wheels stay on the floor. So what I'm going to have to do is ratchet strap the axle to the chassis, jack that up, and then the wheel will come off the floor as soon as we jack the car up. So let's get to it. But it's good that we've waited for the exhaust to get really hot and then start poking around near the exhaust. Take some tools. Yeah, we're going to have to take it all off. I've got the spare wheel. I'm going to put this under the diff because I don't mind this one getting scratched, and then it can't fall off the stand then. Right, well, we've found the issue, and it's quite a large one. If I just grab you and show you what we're faced with here. Right, so this, I've just taken the wheel speed sensor out, which is this thing here, and it's got all these metal filings on it, which means that the wheel bearing is f***ed. Now, I have got another one, so it's not too much of a problem. It's not new, but it'll get us home at least. So I guess we've just got to crack on, really. There you go. Won't even turn around a full rotation. That's how f***ed it is. Ah, right. Let's get putting this one on. Put the wheel on. Right. This is the actual moment of truth to see whether it starts again afterwards. Ready? Oh yes! Oh, what a car! Right, let's do this. Oh, that is miles better. Driving this. You can actually go in a straight line now. How good's that?
I continued with my rage-filled rampage up through Wales, and very soon started to relive the events of Friday night.
Okay, so the batteries are now at just under 9 volts. We're basically back in the same position as we were the other day. Gearbox has chosen a gear. I think it's 4th. Could be wrong, could be 5th. We've got another hour and 10 to get to my mate's house. I'm going to charge this up off his car, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All the dashboard's gone off now, literally everything, even the battery light's gone off. Right, we're now into the sort of territory of the unknown. The batteries are at 7 volts, and that's kind of as low as they got the other day. So all we've got to do is make 7 volts last 45 minutes. I've even had to turn my microphones that I wear off because I can't charge them up. So currently on the internal mic on the camera. It is tense in the car now. Really tense. Come on. Come on. Come on. I kind of know that I'm not going to make it. With 43 minutes left to go. I've just got to get as far as I can.
And sure enough, just 3 miles later, I was right.
We're on the M56, probably just gone past Ellesmere Port. And yeah, it's kind of coughing and spluttering now. And we've got a big hill coming up. Oh, it's getting more frequent. Oh, this is us, I think. That's it. So that's it. None of this fake breaking down stuff like there is on Top Gear. That's genuinely it. Absolutely nothing when you turn the key.
At this point, I called a friend of mine and asked him to nip to Halfords and pick me up a new battery. And, after 2 hours of waiting at the side of the M56, I was back on the move.
Right, well, we're nearly home now, so looks like we're going to make it. We've got 12 volts in the battery and it seems to be holding quite well, this one. Seeing that it's on fire now. Well, I think that's enough breakdowns for one day. We'll have to redo Wales, I think, because having done one lane out of the hundreds in Wales, I don't feel like we've done it very well. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and then you can find out where we're going next, or where we're going to break down next. So with that, I'll bid you farewell.